Hi everyone, it's December 12th. We've had a huge week so far with the launch of GPT 5.2. We'll talk a little bit about that. We will talk about what Anthropic and Google are doing. I'll share a few advancements in world models and then finally a quick update from the company Cursor. All right, so yesterday, OpenAI launched GPT 5.2, which is their most advanced frontier model yet. It's amazingly optimized for professional workflows, so tailored for like enterprise use cases. It was the code red response to Gemini 3 Pro, which was also very successful. And I do think that GPT 5.2 has done a good job of catching up with Gemini 3 Pro. All right, so Sam Altman posted on X that in the 1 day after launching GPT 5.2, they have exceeded 1 trillion tokens processed via their API, which is pretty huge. If you just take the cost of like the input tokens, that's like $1.75 million in revenue in just the first 24 hours. All right, so how is the world reacting to this release, right? Obviously, a lot of users are raving about its advancements in like business tasks and workflows. Developers are seeing improvements in coding as well as like they're seeing improved tool calling and seeing fewer hallucinations. The few negative reviews that we're seeing is that it is much slower than Claude and Gemini, especially the Pro model. It is quite slow. It takes a while to kind of get back to you. And there's some people who are complaining that they've kind of gone overboard with trying to make it safer. It has its own personality quirks that try to steer the conversation too rigidly. But still, I would say it's allowed this model has allowed OpenAI to cut Google's lead. And I think OpenAI is making a lot of advancements that will really help them beat Google. All right, it's important to note that OpenAI did hit their 10-year anniversary yesterday. So it's amazing to see what they have achieved in a decade. They were just a research lab, and now they're like the biggest player in the kind of consumer AI space right now. And Google, like a $1 trillion company, it took them around 3 years to catch up with ChatGPT, which is just saying a lot. All right, so I think as an anniversary gift, OpenAI has made a landmark deal with Disney, which I think is their best move so far for like creative expansion. So Disney is going to drop around $1 billion in equity investment into OpenAI, and this also includes a 3-year licensing pact where Sora and ChatGPT images are allowed to generate around 200 iconic like Disney characters like Mickey Mouse, Iron Man, Darth Vader. A lot of the Disney characters that you see and kids see a lot these days, right? Now, the first year out of the 3 years is going to be where OpenAI will have exclusive rights. After that, Disney might give those rights to other companies as well. So I do think this gives OpenAI kind of 1 year head start compared to Gemini or pretty much Gemini, right? I think it's enough time for them to gain a massive market share, in especially like the image and video generation market, right? And as part of this deal, Disney will actually start showing like Sora generated images, or not images, like videos and maybe even like movies on Disney Plus. Right. I think this is a great deal because it kind of supercharges their user base and kind of for not only like creative professionals but also for like casual users, because like I, as a father of a 3-year-old, I would love to like kind of create Disney themed stories using ChatGPT for my daughter, right? So at this point, I don't think, like for example, Gemini 3 Pro right now still has the best raw multimodal capabilities, so kind of still performing the best in image generation and video generation. But I would absolutely use ChatGPT if I could, generate Disney related stories and Disney related characters, because that's what a lot of kids right now relate to. So if you were to layer the news from yesterday on top of this, which is Adobe is going to be embedding its like top applications like Photoshop, Illustrator into ChatGPT. I think that makes ChatGPT a killer application, right? It's going to pull designers, filmmakers, even hobbyists into like one ecosystem, and I think it's going to be very hard for Google or Gemini to kind of get users to come to Google unless they can also start kind of making the similar deals. I do think that this kind of shows that top scores on benchmarks aren't that important. You have to create seamless tools that actually people will use, right? Okay, all right. Shifting gears to Anthropic, Broadcom basically confirmed that Anthropic was the mystery customer tied to the $10 billion custom AI chip deal. And now Anthropic has just followed up with another $11 billion order, which is huge. So this basically stacks up on top of the recent deal that Anthropic has made with Google Cloud, which was announced in October, where Anthropic is going to be accessing up to 1 million TPUs and over 1 gigawatt of compute capacity, and this is expected to be up in 2026. Now, what's interesting to see is that Anthropic has a kind of a multi-chip strategy where they're not relying on a single chip. They're using Google's TPUs, they're using AWS's Trainium chip, they're using NVIDIA's GPUs. I think this strategy is kind of the best in terms of allowing them to kind of spread their risk and cost profiles, and also gives them a lot of flexibility to kind of move around, right? All right. We have talked about OpenAI, Anthropic, so we have to talk about Google as well. Google is actually testing 2 unreleased models on LM Arena, and under the code names Fierce Falcon and Ghost Falcon. The reporting kind of suggests that they're going to map to Gemini 3 Flash and Gemini 3 Pro. So, but no scores available right now, but obviously the expectation is that they should at least match GPT 5.2, right? Which Google has been actually pretty good at beating benchmarks, at least since Gemini 3 Pro. But again, I don't think benchmark scores are everything right now. Google, I do think, is struggling in some user experience avenues, and I do think they have to do a better job of providing a better experience for its customers. All right, moving on from these guys, a company named Runway announced their first general world model. So unlike standard kind of video generations, world models predict, video generation is basically you predict the next frame, right? World models try to basically understand the underlying structure of an environment. They learn things like how do objects move, how do they interact with each other, especially with time, how do they interact over time, right? So this model that they've just released or announced, this model has been able to stay coherent for several minutes across like a simulated environment, and that's actually a pretty huge jump. Now, what's a use case for this video, right? This model, it wouldn't be used for like creating videos. It would be used for designing simulations. You can create interactive environments, even helps out in like gaming. And then eventually this would kind of go into real world robotics, where a robot will have a world model so that it can kind of understand the universe around it, right? So basically, what this means is that we're moving away from AI that can just talk to an AI that would also be able to understand the world around it. And I think that is definitely going to be the next frontier that these companies will be kind of fighting in. All right, okay. Final news, Cursor, which is, in my opinion, the leading IDE-based coding platform that kind of uses AI. They've launched a visual editor inside their browser. Their browser is also kind of recent. So when you run a front-end application, that application opens up within a browser within their IDE. And now what they've allowed is the ability to kind of drag elements on in that browser to adjust the kind of the CSS behind. You could also inspect components in that browser. You can basically click on it and ask the AI agent to make changes to it accordingly. So basically, I think this was the only thing that was missing in Cursor to make it probably like the ultimate vibe coding platform. I would say like this feature was obviously in things like Lovable and Replit, and now Cursor has it, which I think is a pretty good move. And now it's going to help them get more vibe coding users who aren't as technical. Previously, I would say I would, if I was non-technical, I don't think I would have been using Cursor or an IDE because it would be kind of a little alien to me. But I think now I could see that being a good tool for somebody who has never written a line of code. All right, it's been a huge week, mainly because of the launch of GPT 5.2. I will catch you next week. Bye-bye.